I am Joshua K. Sabra, Esquire, and he is Dr. Miles Salisbury. And you are listening to the Miles Ahead podcast, where we share tactics, techniques, and protocol to improve your physical, mental, and spiritual health while you walk the path of the warrior. Stay tuned. In today's episode, Dr. Miles and I discuss the common mistakes that plague people when they look at their own goals when it comes to goal setting, as well as how to set goals that make you feel empowered and on track, and what to do when confronted with an area of your life that is resistant to goal setting. So stay tuned. And that was the first time I got chlamydia.
Only the first.
Yeah, no. The second time was at a port in Morocco.
You're just playing like a sailor. He always wanted to be in the Navy. I knew it.
How are you doing, Miles?
Hanging in. A little nervous for the England game later today.
I see you wearing your England patch.
Yep. Wearing the family DNA. Yep.
Get your coat of
family
arms.
in England. Yep. It's a big deal.
Okay, well, hopefully it comes through and shines through today. What are you listening to?
I had pulled up the old Dandy Warhols recently from Portland band.
Yeah.
The song was Alone Tonight was the one. Alone Tonight, not Alone Tonight. Yeah. Tricky names.
Right. I could use Alone myself. That's good. There's a lot of good bands from Portland. I want to jump back into that. So yeah, good. The Dandy Warhols. That's a fun one. I've been just going deeper in Alan Watts, and just he cracks me up. It's just right on time with where I'm at in my own headspace. So if you haven't found Alan Watts yet, you got to go out there. We'll link it in the show notes. But that guy is ahead of his time. Did you know he actually was on stage with Carl Jung?
Whoa!
In the 60s.
Wow.
And when Carl Jung died, he did there's an episode called On the Shadow that he does as a tribute to Carl Jung, which is the examination of it's Alan Watts' take on Jung's gifts to philosophy and the mindful arts. So it's really a good one if you're a fan. But so
Big fan.
You're listening to the Dandy Warhols. I'm listening to Alan Watts, and we're talking about goals today. We are continuing our conversation around hope and the epidemic of hopelessness, and defining hope and what it is, and hopefully with the intention of cultivating it a little bit more easily, a little bit more readily.
Is that fun? Hopefully. Was that good?
Ideally. That's right. And so last time we talked about hope, we talked about the definition of hope, or breaking it down into three parts as goal, pathway, agency. And goal being where you're trying to get to. Pathway is that is the how. Goal's the what. Pathway is the how. Agency is the locus of control and the motivation and the personal power you have to achieve.
This is really back to earlier podcasts we were talking about with the military. It's objective, strategy, tactics. Is that similar?
Yeah. Objective, strategy, tactics. Yeah, that's right. Good callback. And that paradigm is it's a kind of sort of a very sterilized clinical way to look at what, to define like a combat mission or your personal mission or purpose. and it's like it's a perfect framework that you can drop in whatever you want, because you can have it be very. Today we're going to talk about the goals and how people can set goals a little bit more easily and what the common goal mistakes are. But that framework, this framework is it's empowering, because it's like a fill in the blank, in a way. And if you do it in a way that's emotionally evocative to you and inspiring to you, then that's mostly what the goal setting is for. It's to inspire you to take more hope-filled action. Right? So today, let's drop right into it. And this is a perfect conversation because you mentioned you had a harder time setting goals for yourself yesterday, or maybe you're stuck right now. And that's a commonplace. It's been common for me as well. And so I wanted to highlight some of the common mistakes that people make when they're goal setting. And there's a lot of really mediocre. I mean, if you're setting goals, like, you're already trying to inspire yourself, and that's really good. Yeah. So there's no wrong way to do it, but there's a lot of ideas out there in books on goal setting that makes it. It's like filling in only half of the colors of the paint by numbers.
We're talking like SMART goals.
Yeah. They say like a goal is a dream with a deadline. Well, it's very difficult to set. Time has a very important role in goals, because there's an element of time pressure on goals, which is positive, and an element which is a little bit negative. And we're going to talk about that. But a dream and a deadline, like, have a SMART goal: specific, measurable, actionable, those types of things. Many goals you don't have direct control over, right? You can influence your sales numbers, but you can't make someone buy your product. And in fact, if you've ever been in sales and you're pushing really hard, you can actually close more sales of whatever product you're selling, but then you get more refunds, or you get higher maintenance clients because the fit is not appropriate. The results suffer, and then pulling out. It's harder for client success or customer success to pull out the threads of the good work that your business is doing. So sometimes that pressure can be negative. The pressure can also be positive, but some of the biggest mistakes that people make when it comes to goal setting are, one, being a little bit too mechanical with their goals and being really specific. And a sales number is a great example. Now, you can have a goal of hitting, a certain quota or a certain number or everything like that, or anything like that. And that works. But if the goal is too rigid, and usually this comes into place when you add a time element to it by a certain date, then oftentimes you build in attachment and grasping to that goal. So I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make when they're setting goals is they're immediately attached to what that goal says about them if they do or don't hit it. Right. So they immediately become attached to it. I know I've done this, right? So it's like, if my goal is to get 10 clients. I remember when I first started my personal training, okay, I want to get 10 clients. Great. And then I immediately had fear in my heart about, like, oh, what happens if I don't get that? What are the consequences of me not getting that?
Does this whole endeavor mean it's never going to work?
Right.
Catastrophize or some sort.
Well, just like the implications of failure, right? What does that say about me? And I already didn't have 10 clients when I wrote it, so it's like, didn't say anything. Yeah, right. So it's like, so attachment is a big part of it. A big part of a pitfall of goal setting, and then it'll come up in a few different ways. But another pitfall of goal setting is writing down goals that sound good, but they're not yours. They don't belong to you. They belong to somebody else.
Society.
Yeah, or just
parents.
poor reference points. Like I've worked in many gyms, and I have worked around many different kinds of trainers, and we don't do the same things, and the way that we engage with clients isn't the same. And so I can't really borrow from their success metrics from my business, I'm keeping this in a business analogy, but we'll do some personal stuff here in a second, because you can measure business a little bit more clearly. But just because something is a benchmark of success for someone else doesn't mean that it's a benchmark of success for you, even if it looks similar. And you can see this in the gym all the time. Like, most guys don't really care about how much their bench press is. Some people do. And they're chasing that. But what they really are chasing are the strength and muscle gains that come along with the.
So you can do that.
There you go. Got the Terry Crews pec jump over here. I like it. I like it. People are, most guys are chasing, performance gains, size gains, things like that. And well, actually I say maybe half guys, and then the other half guys are trying to lose weight, right? Mm. So, but if you investigate each one of these people who are in the gym, they probably all have a slightly different metric that they're chasing that's specific to them for whatever reason. And it's really, you could step back like I just did and like generalize, but actually when you investigate somebody, like we've worked out together, my goal was to get my shoulder to function, right? To improve the function of my shoulder. And we're lifting weights, and we're doing dips and, overhead press and pull-ups and things like that, which feel really good and they're fun, and you can build strength and build muscle with them. But what I really wanted to do was and still want to do, is increase the performance of my body and the function of my joints so that they don't hurt, so that they can do a greater range of motion, and they can also perform better, right? But that may be different than your goal, even though we're doing similar things in the gym. So just because, you can write a goal on your whiteboard or on your vision board, and it can sound good, but it still needs to be your goal and specific to you.
Yeah.
So that would be the second thing. So attachment is the first, which we'll come back to.
Attachment.
Yeah. Being attached is, to your goal is good, but it is also a big problem. Like, you want to be inspired by your goal, but being attached is going to cause a lot of friction. Having goals specific to you that really do matter to you. And this is the third point, having an emotional connection to how you will feel when that goal is achieved. Mm-hmm. And I guess I am a woo-woo person at this point in my life, but you can set goals that have different levels of motivation. We were just talking about the book, Into the Magic Shop by James Doty, right?
What's his name?
And his goals were to get a Rolex, to get a big house, to get a Ferrari, these types of goals that he set them when he was 12. So they sound like, young man goals, and, yep. and they're fun. Mm-hmm. Like, it's nice to have a brick, it's a big watch. It's nice to have, a cool car, right? Those things are cool. And they made him feel good. And so, like, sometimes people get morality around goal setting. It's like, oh, it should be a lot of a high-minded thing or a lofty thing. No, it just needs to have a personal, emotional connection to you. And if you grew up in poverty, those things are very powerful. It's like they're equated obviously with status, but also more subconsciously with self-worth.
Yeah, this means that I am no longer bad or subpar according to socioeconomic standards of whatever.
Or worthless. And like, it's really, when you're in that environment, if you're coming from an environment of poverty, you'll say, people like me can't have these things. So if I have these things, I will no longer be a person like me, which is really...
But you change your identity on that, boy. And in here, it's the same game, but everyone has the Rolexes of who can get the nicest one. It's a different game. It's the same underlying crap. If I don't have this to keep me up the Joneses BS, then I'm now less than somehow.
Yeah, well, the there's good and bad consequences of that, right? Like, if you can enjoy the game of chasing these things and enjoy it for what it is, which is a game, then you're what Tony Robbins talks about: money, master the game. If you're not attached, but a lot of times people get really emotionally attached to, like I said, what it says about me. You said keeping up with the Joneses. That's what other people will think about me when I get this or that.
Or don't.
Or don't. That's right. So having something that a goal that you're emotionally connected to.
Personally,
emotionally connected to.
Not according to what other people think.
Right.
Necessarily.
Right. So if you're listening to this podcast, and I would encourage you, if you're writing, I want to have $1 million in my checking account. And if you're listening to this podcast and you sit with it.
Why?
And, well, to impress my high school friends.
Why?
Okay. And then underneath that, right, you keep asking why, and you sit with it.
Pull the thread.
And it very well may be that you end up back at the beginning, like, no, I still want to have $1 million. Cool. But be very sincere and connected with that why. And there's no, like I said, there's no good or bad goal. Well, hopefully your goal's not to hurt anybody.
But what that's built upon can make or break you.
Yeah, it can make your life miserable, for sure. So, getting that emotionally connected to the goal, to the outcome, to what it will evoke in you, to possess that, to achieve that, to win that, to become that, whatever it is. And this is part of, we're getting into the pathway thing, but part of goal setting is to start to channel that feeling now, right? So how will you feel when you have $1 million in check account, or Rolex watch, or you can bench press 1,000 pounds, or, whatever it is? How will you feel? So start to feel that now. And then you're starting to harness some of the energy.
Yes, that's a very important point. Psychologically, you have to have the emotion. You can throw the whole secret crap out the window with it. There's a part that's right. Like when you think about gratitude journals, right? Why don't they work usually? Because people write down, I'm grateful for my car. And your brain goes, that's cute. Yeah, no shit. But if you also pair in the emotional content, like Connor Beaton gave our men's retreat 3 great gratitude journal questions. And they're, what am I grateful for? You write it. This is important because, deepens it. And how this makes me feel is. And when you get to the feeling, you want to sit in that, because that tells your brain that this thing is important. If there's no emotion, it's an intellectual funny, and your brain goes, that's great. And it doesn't really take it as importance. If there's emotion paired to it, your brain goes, there must be something important here. We've got to keep this in our consciousness. And there are 2 other questions that he asked, but to save time, I won't go into it. But back to your point, yes, you got to strike the match of that emotion of whatever that goal elicits in you, or else back to the reticular activating system podcast we did. Your brain will not go look for ways to find that. It just won't, because it doesn't think it's important. If like, I want a Mini Cooper, and you feel like, well, just try to find a Mini Cooper, you're going to start seeing Mini Coopers everywhere. But if you say, I want a Mini Cooper, and it stops there, you're not going to see Mini Coopers for very long. So yeah, very, very, very important point.
Yeah, and I think to add to that, it's just like, if you like the way that I feel about a BMW 9 Series drove by my girlfriend and I, and it was it looked cool. It was like one of the newer ones I've never seen before, and I was thinking, it's like, oh, that's a cool car. I would drive it. I would take it, but like if if it were in my garage right now, it wouldn't bring up anything in me, when I got into that car, necessarily different than getting into my Toyota Camry.
So yours was like a muscle car, if I remember correctly, right?
That's right. Yeah. And that's where I was going. And then funny thing, a 66 Impala drove by, which is the car I used to drive. And it was a super sport. And I like watched it go by, and I was just like, totally different emotion came up in me.
Mine's what John likes, the Porsche. He's in the background here. He's with Porsche guy. John's back, by the way. He's in the background.
That's right.
Shout out to our producer here.
That's right. Our man with the plan. So the key in that exchange that we just had is, if your goal doesn't evoke that deeper emotional resonance with you in a positive way, we're going to get down into the, what else your goal can invoke in you, but then it's probably not the right goal. Or sit with it, come back with it, ask why. And then the final piece of the puzzle, well, actually there's two final pieces. If your goal strains your own believability on what is possible, like you're probably, it's going to be difficult to hold on to that as the goal without evoking some level of doubt, fear, or intimidation. So the success in this, you can fudge this a little bit. Like when you're 12 and you're writing Rolex on your vision board, and you're getting pictures of Rolexes, what you're doing is you're building familiarity and you're building belief. And then, well, I can't buy a Rolex now because, I'm 12. But like, you go to college. This is in the case of James Doty. This is his, how his life evolved. He goes to college, and then it gets closer to a possibility. And he, continues to look up watches and luxury magazines and things like that. And he keeps one on his vision board. And then he goes to medical school, where that becomes an idea of like, oh, like maybe after I'm a doctor for 4 years, I could have enough money to buy this watch. Mm-hmm. So he's getting closer. He's becoming more in alignment with the person that can get that watch.
I see.
So he's building familiarity and believability along the way.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And you don't even, if you're truly detached from that, you don't even need to build believability in that way, because you can just say like, this is the secret shit, but this is like, I'm agnostic to how, but I know I'm going to someday, I'm going to have a watch like that will make me feel this way. And I don't need to have a clear path. So you can continue to revisit it as long as you are detached from the how. It'll still evoke the good emotions, the positive emotions. And like you said, your brain will be more mm-hmm. open to, how this comes into, you can enter, like, that was one of Jim Carrey's first manifestation. He wanted to buy
check.
What?
The check you wrote?
No. This is when he was 12. Huh. He decided he wanted a red bike, this like new Schwinn. And 2 weeks later, he won one in a raffle. And his friend, he didn't even enter the raffle. His friend wanted it, and he entered it. He's like, "Oh, I put my name in. I put your name in just in case." And so somebody called his house saying, "Hey, you won a Schwinn." And his mom was like, "What?" And so he won a raffle that he didn't even enter, because he just, called it in, if you will. And then, mm-hmm. Life found a way.
Yeah. Getting caught up in the how can kind of trip you up. It's good to have ideas, but that can be a tricky place to be. If you don't, because you're not going to believe it at first, but if you start taking steps and behaviors that go towards it, your mind will start to believe it. Like, you're trying to go to the gym. You're like, I'm not someone that goes to the gym. But then you're like, okay, I have a goal to go to the gym. And you start making steps along the way. Halfway, your brain goes, maybe we are the kind of person that goes to the gym. And then after 3 months, you're like, I'm the kind of person that goes to a gym. And the behavior is just supporting the goal. And you have proof now. Because your mind's going to call bullshit at first. Like, there's a Porsche in my garage. Like, your brain's like, motherfucker, you crazy? But if you start taking the steps of like someone who does things that drives a Porsche, then maybe at some point, you're going to get the job or take the steps, kind of like you outlined before. Or the guy going to medical school to get the watch, the Porsche may appear because you've taken the proper steps. Your brain's seeing the proof along the way and going, yes, okay, yes. That's the part of the secret that is missing, right? You can't just will it into existence and sit on your couch. And maybe 1 out of a million people can do that, but they have Jedi powers that we don't.
Well, and I think like I think being able to share it, share your vision, share what's going on. I wonder if Jim Carrey shared his Schwinn goal or Schwinn aspirations with his friend.
That's a tricky one too. Has ever mixed bags about that when you have like a plan? I don't know if it was Tim Ferriss or Dr. Huberman talking about that. When you talk about it too much, you get the dopamine hit now, and people are like, oh, that's so cool, man, and you feel all the cool feelings that you're supposed to feel more towards when you're getting to the goal. You kind of just lose the steam. Dopamine needs the steam to keep going. It's a molecule of drive, motivation, going after. It's not the feeling of when you get it. It's actually, that dopamine dumps once you get it, which is kind of sucky. But the good feeling is in the pursuit. And if you're telling people all the time, I'm doing this, and they're like, oh, that's awesome, man. You're just dumping that dopamine. And then when you sit down to take the steps, you're like, I don't have any energy right now. And sometimes people stop. So mixed advice on that one. Maybe if it's like an accountability partner, then maybe that's great. You want to tell them, hey, I have this great idea, and you get the juices flowing, and that partner can like check in with you and say, well, how's that going?
Well, and it's I love that conversation, and Ryan Holiday mentioned that too in his recent podcast with, I don't know who it was. Was it Mark Manson? He was talking to some author, and he was talking about how he watched one of his mentors share his ideas with people, and you could see he was getting the payoff from sharing the idea.
Correct. Yeah.
And I think it's a lot of how you approach, and you talked about accountability partners, with the humility of like, instead of here's what a genius I am, I'm going to do all these things.
Right. Yeah.
Instead of, or like, oh, I'm going to run a marathon, how tough am I? Instead of going like more humbly, like, hey, I have this dream. I actually don't know what all the pieces look like. If you have a big vision and you're like, I could see it working like this. Do you have any knowledge of this?
Ooh.
Or like, can I borrow from your expertise?
Stroke their egos. Yeah. And people want to support you.
Well, stroke their egos, but you're also truly open, right? Like if you're not attached,
give me advice. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, and I think that's the part too, where people, I've fallen in this many times where I'm certain that I know the way. And then when someone says, hey, have you thought about this? I'm insulted, or I'm like, how dare you?
Attached to the plan.
Exactly. And so it's like, you think I don't know how to X, Y, or Z? And well, of course I don't know that. I don't already have it. Like, right? Like
back to Ryan Holiday's first book, Ego is the Enemy.
Yeah. Or earlier podcast where we talk about, if you're somebody, the true certainty is it's already in the past. Like it's already here. And that's part of goal setting too, is they say like, okay, so act as if you are already the millionaire. What would you do? And those types of things. And that's not bad advice, but part of this whole conversation is like, you have to be open-hearted to the pathway changing and evolving. And more importantly, you evolving and aligning to become the person that you need and along the path.
This is the hardest part, I would say. Yeah. And shout out to 2 good books in the strategies and tactics area of goal setting, as far as like behaviors to get towards it. Tiny Habits, BJ Fogg out of Stanford, psychologist. And of course, James Clear, Atomic Habits, like 2 of the best on tactics on how to set goals, do things, get things done. Got to mention those. Very helpful.
That's right. And huge, both huge books, and they also tackle the identity, addressing change at the identity level. So we've covered having this goal be specific to you, not someone else, being emotionally evocative, being detached from what that goal says about you, and being somewhat detached from the path. Right. So you're having a soft grip,
yeah,
how it looks to get there. And I think the time piece is time works for you. In the case of a big transformation, time can support you and that it's an asset to have it be something that doesn't have a deadline. Because in the case of James Doty, again, just to use a big, a wide rift, 25 years of work went into him creating his career and his life. And if you were saying like, I have to be a millionaire by December 1st, right? That pressure, that amount of pressure is not helpful. And the way that you want the perfect analogy I heard is, the way you want to feel about your goal is the level of confidence you have that the sun is going to rise tomorrow is how you feel about your goal being achieved. It's inevitable. It is, you definitely take it for granted. It's something that has no friction or fear. There's not an ounce of doubt. And it's just something that you assume, and it's a part of how you show up in the world, right? A lot would have to change for the sun not to rise tomorrow. So having that sense of inevitability with your goal is really important. And I think the time factor, if you're trying to manifest a Porsche or create something, some health outcome, you can lose 100 pounds. If it's very difficult to set an exact date to that outcome. Mm-hmm. MMA fighters they're the best at what they do. They're professional and they miss weight. Mm-hmm. So, like you'll see a professional fighter miss their weight by a pound or two, and it's something they've done 25 times, but it's just very difficult to manage certain variables if time is a relevant factor. Mm-hmm. So with those guardrails, let's walk through a rapid fire goal setting brainstorm with you and me, Miles, and pick an area where you feel really empowered, where you feel the most like confident, like you maybe have hit, you're a physical guy, so you've already achieved a lot physically. Mm-hmm. So let's maybe pick a physical goal, and then we'll go to me. And then we'll each select an area where we feel less empowered, and then we'll talk about how to have how to start with a fuzzy goal and create clarity over time. And we'll do the inevitability, believability checks here, so that we can discover in real time how to do it.
Goals en vivo.
Yeah.
Where I have succeeded at goals or continue to succeed.
Yeah. So let's do a goal. Area of your life where you feel confident.
Definitely. It's always been the physical realm. I don't know why. Easy, probably from sports growing up, jiu-jitsu, whatever. Used to be a dancer, just always moving, always doing things. It's not hard for me to gain muscle. It's not hard for me to lose weight. I know I'm getting a lot of hate already saying those two statements from a lot of people, but thank God. Like that's always been, I don't know, it's probably genetics and just I've been doing it forever. I geek out on this stuff. I listen to Huberman and Peter Attia and Dr. Rhonda Patrick. I like to supplement. I like to tweak. I know what the most recent research is, what to throw out when it's not. I've used the levels CGM. I have an Oura ring. Like, it's just fun. I think there's just a fun component. I feel good after I'm done doing it. I just know I feel healthier. And I feel like shit if I miss. If I take 2 days off, the third day I will feel like absolute dog shit psychologically, and that probably makes me feel shit physically, and probably my body's like, great, you're resting, this is good for you actually. And I'm not a foodie. If I could take a pill and be full, I would do it. Food does fuck all for me. I like good food, but I'm not a restaurant guy. I think it's a waste of money. I'm just not a food person. I don't know.
You have a lot of performance enhancing habits and personality traits.
It's probably personality traits. I think this is why this one's so easy. It's just, this is like pre-wired shit. I don't know. I mean, I like ice cream and I like stuff I like pizza, sure, but I don't have to have it. I don't eat it every day, and I'm not seeking it out. So maybe this is a good example of goal setting, because this can kind of just happen since I've been doing it since I was fucking in kindergarten when I start soccer, kindergarten, yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So it's in your DNA. You're, an athlete from a young age. You feel pretty empowered. So there's a lot of identity. You have a positive identification, or you identify as somebody with physical ability. So this is going to be an easy one, or easier one. So let's think of a goal that would make you feel good for your physical health, that you feel pretty confident that you could hit.
Like if I needed to tack on.
Yeah. Do you have any current health or physical goals?
Yeah, healing injuries, one, and two, I wouldn't mind seeing what it's like just to be bulkier. I've always been like soccer shape, basketball shape, not really runner shape, muscular, toned, like, not to toot my own horn, but like look good at my shirt off. I have like an 8-pack, blah blah blah. But I've never been like Arnold or anything like that. I don't think I want to be that big, but just what is it like to be like jacked? Like you're jacked.
Yeah.
Like, what is that?
So true.
What is it? I don't know. That would be kind of fun. I mean, I look muscular, but if I don't have my shirt off and no one's looking like, oh, that guy's fucking jacked. I have to actually take my shirt off to actually look good. I ain't doing that in public unless I'm at the beach. It's just a little bit weird.
No, there's still time.
There's still time. Yeah. We'll see what happens. Another kind of goal, a fear setting goal.
Great. Okay. So you want to put on some muscle. What do you weigh right now?
I don't weigh myself ever. So probably anywhere between 160 and 175 last time I checked, which was like 5 months ago.
I'm going to say Miles is sitting at about 168 to 171.
You would tell better than anybody. So yeah.
And then, gosh, you're what, 5'10"?
Mm-hmm.
So, a little goes a long way with us, short kings or medium-sized kings, because there are shorter guys. 171, if you even got up to, 185, that would be a huge, huge shift. So 10, 12 pounds of muscle, you could do that depending on how often you've done that or what your training age is right now. So that's a 6-month, 12-month type of transformation. Let's say a year. Make it really easy. A year from now, Miles isn't skipping leg day now. He's putting on the pounds. He's doing the squats and the deadlifts. He's doing the lunges. He's doing the push pull days. So he's eating. He's gonna eat some of that pizza. He's trying to throw it on there.
See, missing link. There we go.
So it's someone with your physical background. That's pretty doable. All right. So imagine you 185. That's like Frank Zane. Or there's a lot of bodybuilders that are 5'10" that walk around that walked around at 180.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is possible.
Yeah, so you can look at there's some really good, and it's good inspiration. That's a good vision board picture. Frank Zane, Jesus Christ. So you can put on some muscle. So when you think about it, close your eyes. Picture yourself right now. Yeah, right now. Close your eyes. Picture you, because you've seen yourself with your shirt off. You know how you look in the mirror. So now you got a wider back. You've got a bigger chest, broader shoulders. You've got still got a nice small waist. You're got bigger arms. So you're the total package. What comes up for you emotionally when you see that imagery and then you feel yourself in that body? What does that feel like for you when you're looking in the mirror now in your imagination? And just sit in that for a moment, harness that feeling, feel it in your body, and then report.
A little bit of anxiety because I know it will take. Definitely excitement. Definitely feels more powerful. Mostly those three emotions, yeah.
Perfect. So I'll feel powerful, a little excitement, a little anxiety, because I'm thinking about what it will take. So this is a bonus for our listeners. If your goal is causing you a lot of pain and anxiety, you're not looking at the goal. You're looking at the obligations.
Oh yeah.
So yes, you are obligated to lift heavy. Yes, you are obligated to make sure you get good sleep. You are obligated to not miss meals. So you will have to go out of your way. If you're not a person who enjoys eating, then you'll have to have something in the fridge, whether you like it or not.
A lot of Jocko Milks, just pound them.
That's right. So there's these things, and but in the realm of believability, right? You could see it, you could feel it, and on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the sunrise, 1 being you being a billionaire, by the end of the year, what was your level of confidence in that you could achieve that
in 1 year?
Yeah,
in 8 at this point.
8. Wow, it's amazing. Great, perfect. So that is a pretty ideal sensation. That's a pretty ideal confidence level. That's a picture perfect goal setting, experience, because you have an identification of exactly what you're trying to create. You feel confident you can do it, right? So all those things, all those things are really good.
Yeah, that anxiety was low grade anxiety. It's the discipline.
The change. There's a change, right? You'll have to
eat.
Even just doing things like, eating an extra meal a day is not some Herculean task. However,
no,
it is a change, and you have to plan for it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So that's a great example of an empowered goal setting, process. All right. Now, what's an area of your life where you feel like maybe a lot less power, where you're like, ugh, I don't feel as good about these things?
Yes. A recent one is all of the social media, website, self-promotion shit that I fucking hate for my work, for this podcast, for whatever else I need to do to actually scale up. And I know there are some psychological reasons. I know logically where these are coming from. That's a big one for me. I know this needs to happen. I have so much resistance and so much overwhelm around it. I've been working with Connor Beaton, and he's doing a mentoring thing for working with men, and half of the component, besides the actual psychotherapy you're doing, is the business model. And his business model is fucking genius. And I'm writing all this stuff out and like, yeah, this would be cool and cool. And I think of myself doing it and like, oh my God, no. Overwhelm or fear of being canceled or whatever comes up. That's it. I don't know if you want me to go into what that is now, or do you want to keep going?
Sure. This is the intimidating version of goal setting. And so requires a bigger shift, and we'll probably have to adapt your identity a little bit, right? Because you already identify as an athlete, and
correct. Yeah.
Identifying as a thought leader is much different.
Public thought leader.
If you are not already there, right? So you're already a teacher, right? You're already an expert, and it is in the Venn diagram of expertise. Being a thought leader is a version of an expert, right?
Correct.
And
with patient work, yeah. So
your shift to this is it's not a crazy leap, but it's a leap. So what we want to do is, number one, you don't have to have all of the answers. We're going to create a fuzzy goal and a fuzzy outcome and some fuzzy emotions. And there's going to be this is going to be a little bit more messy. And this is like the whiteboard rough draft or outline of your, goal. And then you'll iterate it over time. Right. And you're already doing it. Sounds like when you're drafting your stuff with Connor. So What then does success look like a year from now, 2 years from now? You execute on your vision. How will you know that you've succeeded in the creation of this this persona, this brand, this?
We'll have a constantly updated YouTube channel. We'll have an X amount of social media posts per month, per week that just come out scheduled for yours, mine, and the podcast. I mean, the podcast is easy. We're doing this on the weekly. This was low.
It's already in motion.
It was easy, yeah. Because I don't know, something about being on camera is different for me than voice for some reason, which makes no sense since I was a dancer and wore some very suspect things on stage. So, but I didn't have to talk. So,
or amazing things. I think we need photos.
oh, there's some incriminating shit out there. Yeah, that's some good stuff.
That's good. I saw his palms start to sweat in real time. So these have to be really good photos.
I was 19 at the time.
I was such a young man.
I didn't have a prefrontal cortex. And that was actually really, really good time. So it would look like that, something like that, yeah. But psychological barriers, and we probably should do you not want to talk about that yet? Okay. I'm getting the wait a second here.
So to clarity, the clarity is a platform established, content calendar, a cadence of communication established.
Yeah, and it's just like maintenance. Yeah, maybe even somebody that just does it for us. We just, here's the video. You have Canva. You go make something cool, and off you go.
So
a team.
So that seems pretty clear. I thought this was going to be a bigger leap. Okay,
I have some ideas. Yeah,
okay,
this is not what gets in the way.
So you have some clarity on this. Great. What does that give you? What does that having a established megaphone in the internet and having a persona and a platform, what does that provide you?
If that were to happen?
Yeah.
More reach, more people I can help and influence, connect with, gets the mission out that we're trying to do. Yeah, it's good in the end for, if I take it off myself, which I should probably be doing, like this is for a service for other people. And of course, not everybody's going to like it, and that's fine. That's impossible. But for those it does, sweet. We have your own little ecosystem, and people join it, and they're part of it, and off you go.
So it's about impact.
Yeah.
Okay. So you can have a positive impact on as many people as you can.
Yeah.
Okay. So, then a tertiary outcomes are engagement, people engaging with your ideas, people taking action and changing their lives for the better, right? And hopefully you grow in your practice, grow in your business.
Yeah, maybe running men's retreats at some point, something cool. Okay. I have a lot of ideas, yeah.
Okay, so there's an element of impact. So there's contribution, there's growth and mastery in here. There's a lot of different values and needs that are getting met. Okay. All right. So same exercise. Close your eyes. Now, you've got Dr. Miles' YouTube page. YouTube channel. Jesus Christ. I don't know how old I am. YouTube channel. Dr. Miles has 2.2 million followers. He's got 1.5 million subscribers. He's got thousands of videos. We've got a very engaged community and channel. People are talking about how great, how much you've changed their lives, how much you've impacted them with your example and your message. And you only get one death threat a day on YouTube. So you're doing pretty good.
Not too bad.
Yeah, you're that's crushing it.
That's, I mean, that's a success metric, isn't it?
Those are killer numbers. So you have your voice, you're having your positive and negative impacts. Things are feeling good. So sit with that. And then what emotions are evoked in you now?
Fear of responsibility.
Okay.
I know where this comes from. definitely like, wow, excitement, all those, there's some good things too. That would be amazing. But yeah, like fear, responsibility, and sort of maybe being trapped.
Mm.
And I know where this is in my personal work, what I've had to do a lot of, especially in my own practice too, because it comes up there sometimes also. And it comes from attachment wounding. These are some of the, and then, yeah, just there's a fear of judgment, I guess, and messing it up, I guess, at some point. As you put yourself out there that big, you're going to attract the crazies at some point. Yeah, it's some of that, some icky stuff.
So, so this is a perfect example of goal setting for people. Goal setting for all of us. We have areas of our life where we're just less empowered, and so his first round was he had a specific outcome in mind. He got a vision. He felt excitement. Felt powerful just being in that goal, and a little bit of anxiety on the changes that he'd have to make to get that goal to occur. And then the second goal that he had, it was only he didn't voice any positive.
A little bit. It would be exciting. It would be cool. Would be cool. Subject.
So he's
Subjunctive.
got distance from the positive emotions, distance from the empowering, lighter emotions, and he's much more in the double bind. He's much more closer to the consequences, to the negative impact, to the fear, and the resistance and all those things. And so he's already has attachment, right, on what that looks like. So and that's sort of the formula that we can all count on is when we're goal setting for things that we feel very empowered around and very, or needs the least amount of adjustment to our identity, then we're going to have the most empowered, most productive, most easily fleshed out goals. And then when we do something that's been challenging or historically challenging for us, we are we're going to be confronted with more things. And the work is to create clarity around success, and then to, instead of focusing on the North Star, focus on the next benchmark, right? And holding in front of you just the next steps in the journey,
the small iterations,
and also sitting with the inner work that you already mentioned that you had to do. And I want you to talk about that. That those things, that those beliefs that come up for you that are inhibitory or not useful, those are the beliefs that we create. We are responsible for all the beliefs in our heads. Now, we didn't put them there all the time, but we are responsible for what is in there.
Yep.
So you have to actually redo the wallpaper in your own home to make sure that it matches the way that you want. This goes into the agency conversation, but people with great agency adapt their environment to them, right? So you decorate your home. You don't accept that it was this way and it can't change. So when you think about that, some of that, like those beliefs that were bubbling up, you already mentioned the hints of them. Give us a couple examples, or just an example of something that comes up that you're going to have to let go of or discard along the way,
or outgrow. They come from attachment wounds, and we've talked about attachment before. So basically, the short version is when my parents divorced, my dad was leaving, distancing from me. I was feeling sort of abandoned and made to be the sort of man of the house. My mom was very smothering all of a sudden, very emotionally a wreck, and I had to be responsible for her feelings. And if I didn't, then I didn't feel safe in my environment. And it was a lot of pressure. So I felt like I had to do it. But then I rebelled at the same time as this push-pull. And I always wanted dad. And I thought, well, my needs must be so off-putting that he left. I'm too much. So he left. I got to swallow these needs. Oh man, if my needs are that off-putting, I must be pretty bad inside. Shit, I must be rotten at my core. I must be really fucked up. So I have this belief that inside I'm just kind of garbage. But then my mom wants me to help her with her emotions. So I want to be seen desperately, but I'm fucking terrified of it at the same time, right? We all want to be seen, of course. That's all we wanted as kids. See me, love me, tell me you're proud of me. I have worth. I got none of that. Maybe spots here and there. So the feeling of responsibility and the fear of that is like, cool, I have all these people I'm helping. Oh shit, it's 100% on me that they change. And if they don't, then I'm not going to be safe, or there's going to be repercussion. That's it. Because there would have been when I was a kid. If I didn't run the show at 8 with my 3 younger siblings, that house would have fallen apart, which is crazy to think about. I'm 8. And that my dad, where are you? Why aren't you here helping me? Like, this was your job. And you just decommissioned yourself and left. I'm out. But I desperately wanted to see him, and I didn't want to say, hey, come back, and why aren't you doing this? Because I thought if I say that, then he would never come back. So it was this like lose-lose scenario. So whenever these things come up where I have to put myself out there, these lose-lose scenario feelings come back to keep me safe. Like, oh, remember those times? We don't want to do that anymore. We need to keep safe. So no, fly under the radar. No one will see you. And maybe just a little bit, and like make some moves here, but just don't make big waves, because your needs are pretty big and you're almost too much. And if you do that, people will go see that and go, yeah, it's kind of fucked up. Like I'm just not gonna come near that. And so that's the childish self-belief that's still running in the background that I've had been working on for a long time. And then the fear of, if I take on something, I have to fix that thing, or else I'm not safe, or the whole ship will sink. That's pretty heavy to a kid, right? So like in IFS, as we talk about, these younger parts of ourselves still have those thoughts and beliefs and are running the show until we get in touch with them. And from our highest self say, oh, I can see why you'd feel that way. But I wonder if you could trust me from my highest self to actually, let's do an experiment. Let's do one social media post and see how it goes. You can tell me if it's too much, but I'm going to go ahead and do that. These are the iterative steps I am taking. This is how I am working with this. I go to therapy and talk about this stuff. And as I get deeper with learning about this whole world and learning more things, as we should, there's only so much you can do with intellectual talk therapy. Like I've known all this shit for years as a story in my head. As Lori Gottlieb says in her book, maybe you should talk to someone. Insight is the booby prize in therapy. Oh, I was raped when I was a kid. That's why I have trauma, and that's why I do those things. Oh, it should just vanish in my head now. No, this is okay. Now you know where the path is to actually do the work. And that's why we have to go back into the body. That's where IFS lives. The parts go within. Have a new felt sense experience, back to feeling emotion. You won't change unless you have a new felt experience. You weren't traumatized by having an intellectual conversation with your parents. You had a felt sense traumatization. So you were wounded in a relationship. You've got to get healed in a relationship by having a different felt experience in a relationship. That's why somatic work, retreats, things like that, where you do stuff, sometimes psychedelics, that's where things start to change. You need the talk therapy to get the intel to where to start. You need to know, okay, why the hell did this happen? The insight is necessary, but then you have to go deeper. And that's the point where I'm hitting. And that's why I want to learn so much more about that. And I've got tons of Jungian theory. I've got tons of mindfulness meditation training. And it's helpful. But there's this somatic piece, this deeper limbic brain attachment theory stuff that I've been getting into that's finally making a resurgence. I did my master's paper and dissertation on attachment theory. It's finally blowing up in our field. We have to go deeper. You just have to go have a different felt experience for your brain to say, this could be different in this context. When this context comes up and triggers those fears, it could be not the same as when you were 8. That's what I've been trying to do. And so you can see how goal setting can be so crazy for people because they don't even know that this is going on. And they go, I'm gonna do X, and they take a step, and it's like your body goes, fuck yourself. No. Here's some overwhelm. Here's some anxiety. Here's some depression. Here's some, I want to distract. Why am I doing this? Because it's in your nervous system in your body. Your brain has 20%, your body has 80%, some number like that. It's running the show. Some of these things happen when you were like pre-verbal, right? So no wonder you don't have words for it. You're made to cry it out when you were 2. Fear of neglect and abandonment. There it is, So that's going to come up. So you've got to, even if you don't know or do know that happened, that's still not going to change it. It's still happening in your body. You've still got to go in and like learn to calm the nervous system, go within what's going on, use IFS if you need to, or some sort of other somatic modality. Go do an ayahuasca or ibogaine retreat. I dare you. You'll see some things that you didn't see, feel some things you didn't feel before, and it will start to shift things. But that's why half the times this shit don't work for people for goals. No one listens to the psychologists. No one listens to us. So there's my soapbox, and this is why it was easy for me as a kid for the physical part, because none of these attachment things interrupted it. In fact, it was a release to get on the field, to go play, to be on a team, to get this shit out. Even though my parents hit and miss coming to my games, like I was just there for me. I was running free in the field. I was like, this is great. I don't have any obligations. I have a team around me from fucking once, right? It's not just me running the show. I can pass the ball, get it back, and like I feel like I'm being supported. That's the only place I got supported was in sports, and dance and jujitsu, things like that when I was younger and growing up. So
it's a lot.
It's a lot. As I say, I'm like a jukebox. You put a quarter in, I just go, and you have to kind of let me get it out. It's from Ant-Man, by the way. It's a good movie. Anyways.
Well, there's a metadata or meta point I want to point out. The goal that Miles shared was 3 sentences. The iceberg below the goal, the underwater part of the iceberg was 5 minutes. And that's what life is. And our goals have these anchors to us for the very reason. The potency of the goal to the person is going to be very much related to the healing that they have to do beneath the waves. Mm-hmm. And the work, when you get into, a lot of people come to me, I'll get a text or an email, or someone will show up to the gym and they'll say, okay, Josh, I've been following you for years. I'm ready to make a transformation. And as any good Zen master, I just laugh because they have clarity on the tip of the iceberg, and they have no idea what is going to be required to deliver it. It's really on your macros are easy. Like, ordering a grocery list from Safeway, easy. Showing up to the gym, easy. But changing and addressing all of those wounds and going deeper, that's the part that is daily work.
The resistance.
And it's like that for all of us. Yep. And what you shared with you had a great amount of clarity on the parts work, and your managers and your exiles and what you need to do to hug them closer and bring them into the fold. And this is all IFS stuff that Miles is talking about. And he obviously, that's his field, right? So he has immense clarity on the process, the obstacles and the obligations to the process. Most people don't have that. So most people, and actually including you, will get bogged down in the minefield of, I'll cut to the chase. You don't really need to heal every single wound you have to be the person you want to be. No. I don't even know that we ever get healed.
Don't even try that. Yeah.
But you, along the way, the journey, and this is why my archetype is the warrior, and why I enjoy it so much is I don't sit around and read self-development books for fun. I confront the part of me that needs to be confronted at that moment, and I don't let it go until I'm at least through that stage in my development. And that's the fun of life for me. Like, I just want to see what happens. I have a curiosity and a passion for it. And I love it. And most people don't want to do any of that. They just want the Rolex, and they don't want to have to do the 25 years of work that it takes to become that person. And I have tons of empathy with that. And maybe if you're listening to this, you don't have to do any of that work, and good for you. But most of us along the way, we have to confront these things so that we can be at peace with that identity that we're creating and this life that we are creating, so we can enjoy the process and not be tortured along the way. Because if you just use your willpower to punch through all of the thorns and obstacles and not adapt your garden to mirror what you're actually trying to create, you can probably do it, and it'll destroy everything in the path, just like it did to James Doty. He got everything he wanted. It just destroyed the life he was trying to create while he did.
That's the danger. Yeah.
And if you're listening to this and you are trying to restore your hopefulness, then go through this goal setting process, get clarity on what you're trying to create, have a soft grip on the path, and continue to refamiliarize yourself and re-romanticize yourself with that person that you're trying to become, and those goals and the emotional impact you're trying to create for your own life. And you'll be surprised how fast things can change. And you'll be surprised how quickly you'll be confronted by your demons. But if you're just willing to face them and not try to punch your way through, it doesn't have to be a painful process. That's my soapbox. Is I have made the process unnecessarily painful for myself for the last 40 years. My goal is to surrender a little bit more to the process for the next 40 plus.
Sounds good. All right.
It's a lot of stuff.
It's a lot. We let that sit for people. Hopefully our experiences will be good teachers for people.
In the next couple episodes, we're going to revisit hope again. We're going to revisit goals, and then we're going to dive into pathway issues, the problems along the path, and agency issues in the next few episodes. So for goal setting and hope, stay tuned.
And share this episode if it's helping anybody, and you want to give it to one person. The spiel we always say.
Oh yeah, smash the like and subscribe.
All that crap. Yeah, share it. Do it. Dare you. All right, we're out.